We'll begin with the back panel and we'll first form that slip knot. Then it's chain a length of chains. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now you'll continue on with this length of chains until this length of chains measures your shoulder to shoulder measurement plus half. So it's 1.5 times the shoulder to shoulder measurement. Now for the tutorial, I worked a size medium, and the shoulder to shoulder measurement for a size medium is 16 inches. So my chain was actually 24 inches because I worked it 1.5 times the shoulder to shoulder measurement. So that's 16 inches, and then half of 16 is 8, so I added the 8 onto the 16, and that gave me 24. So my chain was 24 inches for a size medium. Now you work a length of chains depending on the size that you're working, and you'll see I've provided the shoulder to shoulder measurements in the next clip. So your length of chains must be 1.5 times the shoulder to shoulder measurement. I've worked my chain, length of chains, and this length of chain measures 24 inches. That's 1.5 times the shoulder to shoulder measurement for a size medium. So you work the length of chains, and it should be 1.5 times the shoulder to shoulder measurement for your size. Now, once you've got your length of chains complete, you can go ahead and count the number of chains you have. And this number of chains must be in multiples of 3 in order to work the stitch pattern. I've already adjusted my length of chains. I had worked 101 chains, and I adjusted it to 99. You can either decrease the number of chains or increase to bring it up to a multiple of 3. It doesn't matter really whether you increase or decrease, because it's just a matter of 1 or 2 chains, which won't really make a difference to the size. So in my case, like I said, I decreased by 2 chains to bring it to 99, which is a multiple of 3. Now for the actual tutorial, you'll see I'll be working a shorter chain, and that's just because it's a sample. Remember that your chain will be much longer. There's one other thing before we go on. This chain marks the waist of our pattern. So we're working bottom up. We're working from the waist to the shoulder. Now when I say the required length, I mean it's from the waist to the shoulder. So you'll actually take that measurement of how long you want your top to be, and it will be from the shoulder to the waist. Take that measurement, and that would be your required length of the pattern. And like I said, we're working bottom up. So from this chain, it's the waist working upwards to the shoulder. For this tutorial, I'll be working a sample just to show you the stitch pattern. And that's just because it makes it easier for me to get it all on camera. So here goes. Now I have a length of chains, and like I said, just for the sample, it's 18 chains, which is a multiple of 3. I will begin round 1 into the 4th chain from the hook, double crochet. So if you here's your chains, 1, 2, 3, 4. Into that 4th chain, double crochet. It's yarn over, insert the hook into that 4th chain, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through 2 loops on the hook, yarn over, go through 2 loops on the hook, and you'll continue on with double crochets to the end of the round. So again, it's yarn over, insert your hook into the next chain, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through 2 loops on the hook, yarn over, go through 2 loops on the hook. Continue with double crochets to the end of the round. Remember your chain will be a lot longer. It's only because I'm working a sample. So I've continued on and I've worked double crochets to the end of the round. Now before I move on, let me just say that that chain that you had counted, the number of chains that you had counted, jot it down because you would need that same number to work the front panel. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so round 1 is complete. Now we're on round 2. Chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and turn. Now into that same stitch from where the chain 4 comes out of, work 3 double crochets. So you're working 3 double crochets all into that one stitch. That was 1, 2, 3. Now you'll see here it is. I have my 3 double crochets and I've got this chain, and there's a little space formed in between the chain 4 and my cluster of double crochets, and we'll use that space in the next round. Then it's skip 2 stitches, so that's 1, 2, into the next stitch, work a single crochet. So it's insert your hook into that stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through 2 loops on the hook. Then it's chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and into that same stitch from where we had worked that single crochet and the chain 3, work 3 double crochets. So that's 1, 2, 3. So my stitch pattern here is skip 2, 1, 2, into that next stitch, single crochet. Then it's chain 3, 1, 2, 3, into that same stitch, work 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3. And you'll continue on with the stitch pattern to the end of the round. So again, it's skip 2, single crochet into the next stitch, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then it's 3 double crochets into that same stitch. 1, 2, 3. I've actually got a very short way to go. I might as well just get it all on camera. So here goes. Now once you get to the end of the round, you can now single crochet into that last stitch to complete the round. Round 3, chain 1, 2, 3, 4, chain 4 counts as a double crochet and chain 1 and turn. Now you'll skip these 3 stitches from our 3 double crochet, 1 2 3, and into, we'll work our next stitch pattern into this chain space. So it's a double crochet into that chain space, then it's chain 2 1 2, and another double crochet into that same chain space, and you'll continue on working a double crochet, chain 2, double crochet into the chain spaces, skipping all these stitches. So we're just working our stitch pattern into the chain 2 spaces from the round before. Now when you get to the end, you have 1 chain space right at the end. So here I'll just chain 1 and I will double crochet into that last chain space to complete the round. Round 4, chain 3, 1 2 3, chain 3 counts as a double crochet. Now here we've worked that chain 1 into that space, we'll work a double crochet, and for this round we're working double crochets throughout. Into the double crochet from the previous round, we'll work a double crochet. Into that chain 2 space, we'll work 1 double crochet. Then it's a double crochet from the round before, we'll work a double crochet into that stitch, a double crochet into that next stitch, 1 double crochet into the chain 2 space, a double crochet into the next stitch, a double crochet into the next stitch, 1 double crochet into the chain 2 space, a double crochet into the next stitch, a double crochet into that next stitch, 1 double crochet into the chain 2 space, a double crochet into the next stitch, a double crochet into the next stitch, 1 double crochet into that chain 2 space, a double crochet into the next stitch, a double crochet into the space, and a double crochet into that third chain from chain 3. So that's the stitch pattern. You'll continue on and you'll repeat round 2, 3, and round 4. So for the next round, like example 1 2 3 4, so it's round 5, and here I'm repeating round 2. So it was a chain 4, turn, and then it's my double crochet cluster into that same stitch from where the chain 4 comes out of. Then it will be skip 2 stitches, a single crochet, and you'll continue on. It's just repeating those rounds. I've continued on with my back panel, and all I've done was continue to repeat rounds 1, 2, and 3. So here you see it, it's rounds 1, 2, 3, and you repeat those rounds until you reach the required length of your top. So it's the required length less about an inch. So if I look at it, an inch is just around 3 rounds of my pattern. So that means in order to complete my back panel, I've worked this back panel less 3 rounds. So I still have 3 rounds to work to get to my required length on my back panel. So you'll repeat rounds 1, 2, and 3 until the required length less 3 rounds. For me, if I just take a measurement on the length of mine, just to give you an idea, mine measures 14 inches from top to bottom. I still have to work those 3 rounds to complete my back panel, and that will bring it to 15 inches. So that was the length I was looking for. Now, those last 3 rounds we'll work those to bring in our back neckline. Now at this point, I decided to set aside the back panel and work the front panel. And well, if you can choose to complete the back panel totally, or do as I do, set it aside, work the front panel, and then work the necklines on both the panels. Now for my front panel, here I have it. I've already worked the front panel, and to do that you'll start off with your foundation chain just as you had done for your back panel. So you'll work the same number of chains that you had worked for your back panel, and then you'll repeat rounds 1, 2, and 3 until your front panel is 6 rounds shorter than the back panel. Now you see I'm using the back panel as a guide. So here goes. If you look at my front panel is 6 rounds shorter than the back panel. So here it is. So you'll work your front panel 6 rounds shorter than the back panel. For children, you'll work that front panel maybe 3 rounds shorter than the back panel. So once you've completed your front panel and your back panel, we'll go ahead and work the neckline. For the neckline, this is my back panel. You fold your back panel in half along the width of the panel. That means the top edge of your piece. Fold it in half. You need to find that center point here. Now that you've found your center point of the back panel, you'll mark it off with a stitch marker. Now from that stitch marker, you'll count 18 stitches and mark off the stitch with another stitch marker. And on the other side of the stitch marker, you'll count 17 stitches and mark it off with a stitch marker. So from one stitch marker, if I remove that center stitch marker, from one stitch marker to the next, I must have 36 stitches, and that marks off my neckline. Now for children, you'll change that number of stitches. You'll go down to about 12 stitches for children. So in between you would have 24 stitches for children, and you can always adjust this. You can increase the number of stitches or decrease the number of stitches. To work the first shoulder, so we're working from the start here to that first stitch marker. You'll remove the center stitch marker from those 3 stitch markers as you no longer need it. So you've just got the 2. And what we'll do is we'll work the shoulder on one side here, and then we'll rejoin and work the shoulder on the other side. So to work that first shoulder, you'll bring in your yarn. If you haven't got yarn attached, you'll attach yarn and you'll continue from there working the pattern. So our next round was chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 and turn. Then we're working the pattern as we've been working all along, which is our 3 double crochets into that same stitch from where the chain 4 comes out of. 1, 2, 3. Then you'll skip your 2 stitches, 1, 1, 2, and then it's a single crochet, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, 3 double crochets into that same stitch where we worked the single crochet, and you continue on with the pattern, skipping 2 stitches, working your single crochet, a chain 3, 3 double crochets into that same stitch as the single crochet, your chain 3. So you'll continue up until you get to that first stitch marker. I've continued on with this round 1 of the first shoulder, and here I am. I've single crocheted into that stitch marked by the stitch marker. Then it's turn, round 2. So you're going to slip stitch 3 times into those 3 stitches. Into that chain space you will single crochet, and then it's chain 3, chain 2 and a double crochet all into that space. You continue with double crochet, chain 2, double crochet into the chain spaces to the end of the round. I've worked my way to the end of round 2 of that back shoulder, and here I am. You can see that I've worked my double crochet, chain 2, double crochet into that second last chain space. I've got 1 more right at the end. So to end the round, just as I had done throughout the pattern, it's a chain 1 and a double crochet into that last chain space. Then for round 3, which is my last round of the shoulder, it's chain 3 and turn. Now here I'm working double crochets into all double crochets from the round before. I'm working a double crochet into this chain 1 space right at the beginning, and I'm working 1 double crochet into the chain 2 spaces. So it's a double crochet into that first chain 1 space, a double crochet into the double crochet from the previous round, a double crochet into that chain 2 space, a double crochet into this double crochet from the round before, a double crochet into the double crochet from the round before, 1 double crochet into that chain 2 space, and you'll continue on to the end of the round. So here I am. I've worked those double crochets across, and I'm at the end of round 3 for my first back shoulder. Now you'll see I've got this chain space here right at the end. Into that chain space, I've worked my last double crochet into, if you look at it here, here's my set of double crochets, my double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, and I've worked my double crochet into that last double crochet there. So I'm not going to work a double crochet into this last one here. Instead, I'll work a single crochet into that chain space. And then you can fasten off. You can cut off the excess yarn. You can leave behind a long enough tail to help with the seaming. Cut off the excess yarn and fasten off. So that completes the back shoulder on the first side. Now for the shoulder on the next side. Now here I am working the shoulder on the opposite side. So this is the back shoulder 2. And right at the start here is where I'll attach my yarn. Pull it through. Then I can go ahead and work the pattern as I had done for that first shoulder, which was chain 4. And then into that same stitch from where the chain 4 comes out of, I'll work my 3 double crochets. Then it's skip 2, 1, 2, single crochet, chain 3, into that same stitch, work 3 double crochets, and you continue on with the pattern just as you had done for the first shoulder. So you work your rounds, the 1, 2, 3 rounds, and it's just a repeat as we had done for the shoulder on the other side. I've continued on and I've completed my back panel, so the 2 shoulders on the top are complete. Here it is. So once you've done that, your back panel is ready. You can fasten off and set this aside. We'll now work the shoulders for the front panel. When marking out the front, you would do it the same as you had done for the back. You'll fold your panel in half. You'll mark out the center. Then for adults, you will mark 24 stitches in total from stitch marker to stitch marker. So it's 12 stitches on the one side and 11 on the other. And for children, you would mark off 18 stitches in total from stitch marker to stitch marker, and that would be 9 stitches on one side and 8 on the other. So I've continued on with round 1 for that first shoulder, and it's just a repeat of the same round 1 that we worked for the back shoulder. Now just to show you right at the end, here I am right at the end, and you'll see that I need to complete this round by working my single crochet into the stitch marked off by the stitch marker. But if you look closely, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches remaining. So I'll just follow the pattern, skipping 2 stitches and working my single crochet into that last 3rd stitch to complete the round. But you'll see that my stitch marker is 1 stitch off, and that's fine. That just means that when I folded my piece, I didn't find the exact center. That's fine. You may be 1 stitch off, which is perfectly all right. The way to test that it's correct is if you count these chain 3 clusters here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I've got 12, and if I take my back panel, which I've already worked, and if I count the clusters that I have for my shoulder, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I must have 2 clusters more on my front for my front shoulder. So for my back shoulder, I've got 10 of these clusters, and for my front, I've got 12 of these clusters. So that means that my shoulder is right. So that's how you would test. You definitely wouldn't want to work your stitches past the stitch marker and then thereby working more clusters. I hope that what I say makes sense, but it's just that you may be 1 or 2 stitches off here with the stitch on the stitch marker because we didn't count our stitches when we found that center. And that's perfectly all right. Like I said, you can go ahead and test that the number of clusters you have for the front is 2 clusters more than that of the back. by clusters I mean these sets of double crochets here. So that's 1, 2, and if you count them. Okay, so yeah, that's what you'll do there. So I've ended off round 1, and then it's round 2, which was turn. Again, it's the same as we had done for the back panel. I'll work my 3 slip stitches, 1, 2, 3, and then I'll single crochet into that chain space. Then it's a chain 3 for my double crochet, a chain 2, and then a double crochet into that same chain space, and I'll continue on with my stitch pattern just as I had done for the back shoulder. I continued on completing round 2. I then worked round 3, working those double crochets. So it's the same again as we had done for the back shoulder. The only difference is when you get to the end, remember we had been skipping that last double crochet right at the end. So for this round, for round 3, we will not skip that double crochet. We'll work a double crochet into that stitch from the round before. So here it is, and then into that chain space, single crochet. Then round 5, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, sorry, actually chain 4, and then turn. And now our stitch pattern is into that same stitch from where the chain 4 comes out of, work your chain 3 cluster. Then it's skip 2, single crochet, chain 3, 3 double crochet into that chain, same space from where the chain 3 comes out of. And you'll continue on with the stitch pattern to the end of the round. I've continued on and I've completed round 4. I then worked round 5, which was chain 4 turn, and then it's a double crochet into that first chain space, chain 2, double crochet into that same chain space, and then I continued on with the double crochet, chain 2, double crochet into all chain spaces. Now right at the end of round 5, I've worked that double crochet, chain 2, double crochet into my second last chain space, and I have one more chain space. Into the last chain space I will single crochet. Round 5, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and turn. So here we're working double crochets all across. You work double crochets into all double crochets from the round before, a double crochet into the chain 2 space, and right at the end there's a chain 1. You'll work a double crochet into that chain 1 as well before working a double crochet into that last chain 3. So you continue with double crochets to the end of the round. I've continued on and I've completed round 7, working those 3 double crochet, those clusters all across. So round 8 is turn, and here it's a repeat of round 2 from the back when we work the shoulder. So you're going to slip stitch 3 times into those 3 stitches, into that chain space you will single crochet, and then it's chain 3, chain 2, and a double crochet all into that space. You continue with double crochet, chain 2, double crochet into the chain spaces to the end of the round. So I've continued on completing round 8, and then I worked round 9, which is just a repeat of round 3 from the back shoulder, and I've worked those double crochets all across. At the end of the round, I will single crochet into that chain space. I can now fasten off. Now I'll work the front shoulder on the other side. So you'll turn your piece to the opposite side for the shoulder, and right at the edge here is where I'll attach my yarn, and I'll continue on working the pattern just as I had done for that first shoulder. That is the front shoulder. Here goes. I've attached my yarn. Then it was a chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then for round 1 we're working those clusters, and I'll continue on working the pattern. I've continued on with the shoulder for my front panel, and here you have it, the first shoulder complete, and here's the second one. We can now go ahead and join the front panel to the back panel at the shoulders. So here's my 2 panels. Okay, so make certain that it's the right sides facing, sorry, the wrong side facing up. And then you'll take your yarn needle and you can thread it into those tail ends if you did leave behind a long enough tail end. Now you go on stitching, working those stitches stitch for stitch along the front panel and back panel to join. Continue to the end of this first shoulder, then you can fasten off and you can stitch together the second shoulders. I've completed the stitching along the shoulders and they're all joined. So now there's just one more thing to do before we can complete this. That is to form those bands at the bottom of the top on the front and the back. So here I'll take a stitch pattern, the 1, 2, 3 rounds, and that's where I will attach yarn right there. So I'll bring in my yarn and it's a chain 1. Now you can make this band as wide as you want. You would just have to move further up here, and this is the bottom edge of the top. So we've chained 1, and here I'm just going to single crochet all along this bottom edge of the top. So you work your single crochets, work them evenly across. So in this, here it is. And then round 2, it's chain 1 and turn, and then you'll work your single crochets again. And then round 3, chain 1, turn, and it's single crochets all across again. So I've worked 6 single crochets in total, and that's going to be the width of the band that I'm forming. So I'll continue on just working those single crochets, chain 1, turn, single crochet across for all the rounds until I get a band that I'm happy with when it comes to the length of it. So you'll continue on until you have formed a band that's long enough. I've continued on with this band. Here you see it, and I've worked it to a length that I'm happy with, and you do the same. So the important thing here is remember to keep your stitch count throughout the band. Like I used 6 stitches, so I ended off with 6 stitches as well, and that just keeps the belt or band uniform and straight. So you'll do the same on all 4 ends. So it's the bottom ends of your front and back panel. So it's on 2 sides for your bottom panel and on 2 sides for your front panel. So in total you would have worked 4 bands. Okay. We will now work an edging around the neckline. So here's the neckline, and this is center back. So I'll attach yarn along center back at the neckline. Then it's chain 3, 1, 2, 3, sorry, chain 4, that's chain 4. And then into that same stitch from where chain 4 comes out of, we'll work our 3 double crochet cluster. So that's 3 double crochets into that same stitch. Then it's skip 2, 1, 2, single crochet, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, 3 double crochets into that same stitch. And you're basically continuing on with the same pattern, this 3 double crochet cluster and including that chain 3. You're continuing with that stitch pattern all around the neckline. I've worked my way all along the neckline, so I've come to the end. To end the round, you'll slip stitch into that bottom stitch from where that first chain 3 came out of. So into that stitch is where I will slip stitch to join. You can then fasten off, cut off the excess yarn, and all that's left to do is to weave in all these ends. And there you have it. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial.